Let's see what my guys are doing here. The Crafts Dwarf isn't doing anything. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that because we're right about to have a real crafting layer here. I don't want to build a Crafts Dwarf workshop. In fact, I think I'm gonna go ahead and kill these for now. He's working on this one, so I'll let him finish that rock throne. This guy's still working on the mine carts, but we've already got a couple, so I'm just going to kill this one and let him finish that one up. And then as soon as they're done with these, I'm just going to deconstruct these shops and get rid of those. In fact, I'll go ahead and get rid of them, the stockpiles now. Alright, we're good. One stockpile I might go ahead and create out here for now is a refuse and graveyard. Just so I'm kind of noticing here, I've got some flies, and it's just reminding me that like you definitely want to always have somewhere where they can grab anything that's like rotting or you know, trash, things like that that they can take out, corpses, a place that they can put them that's not in your base, because anything that's rotting in your base, it's going to attract, you know, vermin, and it's also going to create miasma clouds that if your dwarves have to walk through them, like it's giving them negative thoughts, and they're going to get upset really quickly, which can lead to just a miserable time for you too. So I think for now I will create just some zones out here, and we'll just say this is refuse for now, and we'll do like a graveyard down here. Whatever, doesn't matter for now. We're gonna change this stuff later. Corpses. There you go. And anything else I want to do with that? Maybe I'll also create a zone. Okay. And I'll just do like whatever, this whole area as a garbage dump. Let me also create a zone. Actually, I probably should have done this earlier, but let me create a zone also as a pin pasture just around the entrance to my base. Maybe like a 3x3 beyond the entrance here. And I'll just go to this and assign my animals to it for now. The dogs and cats I'll just kind of let walk around, but the other animals I'll go ahead and assign them here just for now, so they stay here. And the cats and dogs can just kind of walk around as they want. That will take, my dwarves are going to start doing that as well, walking them to the pasture, but then they'll pretty much stay there, I believe. Alright, we've got some planting going on. So once this is done, we definitely want to make sure that we've got our food stockpile set up by the time that these actually start to grow, because those will rot quickly, they'll wither if they're not picked. So we definitely want to make sure there's an easy place for them to just grab, you know, the finished plump helmets and take them. And ideally, we want that to be close to the kitchen and brewery, as close as possible as like input stockpiles for them. So that's probably one of the first things that I'm going to create down here, along with the other workshops that we had. Are these guys done yet? Yeah, they're done. So let's mark these for removal. And yeah, go from there. Yeah, so now that we're down to the rock layer, this is definitely taking a little bit longer to mine out than the farmable, you know, soft layers up here, soil layers. One trick that you can do, so I'm kind of selective in terms of what exploits that I use and what I don't, which I don't, and it's a little bit arbitrary. There's another exploit that you can use that I actually don't like, unlike the stockpiles. Generally, I mean, I wouldn't say it's completely arbitrary. I usually go for exploits if they're going to help my FPS, if they're going to help my base design aesthetics, they're going to help things like that. But in terms of, you know, where it's just like, I don't know, a hack that you can do that eliminates a game mechanic or something like that without any other benefit than just making it easier, I usually don't go for them. But one that you can do if you're fine with that and you don't care is I believe that the farming that happens outdoors, which, you know, that this kind of comes with its own challenge, right? Like if you want to do outdoor farming, you can kind of build a greenhouse or something like that, which is what I like to do personally. I just think it's kind of cool, like another cool project that you can do up here. It's what I did in my last base. You can have your farms up here without the, you know, the penalty hit of your farmers always having to go out there into the rain and stuff like that and get pissed off. So I believe that it is such that if there is a like what is considered indoor and outdoor is a little bit like hokey right now, and it's kind of just based on whether or not there has ever been a direct path from, like, you know, the sun, I guess, like direct to whatever patch of land that is. So there's basically, like, what you can do is you can essentially expose your underground farming layer to the sun directly by, like, channeling this out, or, you know, like collapsing a piece of this and then build it back, so that it's technically, like, still underground. And then from then on, like, you can have all of your farming on the same layer, and grow crops from above ground and below ground. I usually don't do that, but that is one possibility for something that you can do. I think it used to work. Don't quote me on any of this stuff. All right, this is taking forever. But everybody's planting, including the people who aren't planters. This is something you probably, like, right now I'm fine with it because I was actually getting a little stressed out that people weren't doing anything. But this actually is something that you'd want to control later, and you probably do actually want to make it a restricted job to plant seeds, simply because I think this also affects the yield, like the farmer's, you know, ability to plant better. And if you've just got a bunch of randos going up there planting, you're going to have, like, a poor yield. Right now I don't care because I really just want to get this going, and I don't have enough dwarves to really be optimizing to that degree, but a lot of this stuff can be reined in later. Let me think about this for a second and figure out how I want to do my stockpiles as, like, feeders, especially the quantum stockpiles for feeders for these things. Last time I kind of did them, what I did was I channeled out a room in the middle here of these, essentially these, like, 5x3 rooms. And then I had, like, a path leading to this, and this central piece was essentially the minecart that was going to be used. And then they kind of dropped to the single square on the inside. And so this, behind them, this 5x3 area, I could basically define all of this or a smaller portion as, like, a feeder stockpile to it. The way that it's going to work is you're essentially going to have a feeder stockpile for the quantum stockpile that could be any size. And depending on what size it is, this is what I was saying before, is, like, more or less dwarves will go do that at a time, right? So let's say I made this feeder stockpile only 3 large, right? Like, I made it this big. Obviously, if those 3 are full, or, like, they already have dwarves that have queued up the job to go, like, take one thing, like, let's say this is a rock stockpile and you've got 3 guys already assigned to, like, you know, they're going to pick up this rock, and this rock, and take it to these three. While that's happening, and while those rocks are in, and even when the rocks are in there, no other dwarves are going to take the job to haul there, because it's basically, you know, full, even when the job's going to there is. And so you can kind of, basically that means that, like, if you've got a, you know, 300, or sorry, like 30 dwarves in your fortress, you know, you're not going to have half of them working on rocks the whole time. You're only going to have like probably 3 maximum at a time. But if you want this to be a quicker thing and assign more dwarves to it, you can just sort of like make this input stockpile a little bigger. That gives you some freedom there, and I found this to be like kind of good control for that. And then you're going to want essentially a minecart, a single minecart tile, where you're going to put a minecart here, and basically you're going to do a bunch of configuration to make it such that the hauling route begins and ends here, and it takes from this feeder stockpile with no conditions. And, you know, basically then dwarves will start loading it up as soon as there's something in this stockpile. They'll load it into the minecart, and the minecart will immediately dump it out onto this tile as like an output tile. And so that will just happen really fast, because dwarves come here, they load it up. Even for heavy stuff, like they're only going, you know, a couple steps to load this, and then everything's getting dumped out onto this one pile. And the nice thing is you've got the input pile, the minecart, and the output tile all set to the exact same item configuration, or like, you know, the exact same configuration of what they will accept. So the cool thing about that is that now you can basically do all of the nice things that you do with a stockpile normally with that output stockpile, in the same way that you would if you had a large stockpile with rocks in it. Like you could make, you know, a crafts dwarf workshop up here, or a mason's workshop that only takes out of that pile, the same way that you can restrict that to any other workshop pile. Whereas in the old days, you know, with something like the dumping zone, it wasn't quite so easy. You had to micromanage it a lot more, and you kind of lose out on some of the regular stockpile functionality. So that's going to work really well. This is what I did last time. It's not the most efficient it could possibly be, because, you know, let's take like this workshop in over here, or, you know, let's say I grow this eventually and do like you know, another workshop up here in this area. You know, it's not that long of a walk, but it is still a walk that they're having to do to get there, especially if you're talking about something heavy like stone, or you know, metal or something like that they're having to haul. So, you know, I'm a little bit unsure if I want to go with this exact design that I had before, or switch it up a little bit to be a little bit more efficient. One thing that I've done in the past is kind of use Z layers to be really efficient about this, where you know, let's say I have my workshops on this layer, and I want to just like go down a layer and put, like, you know, what I could do is I could say all of my input stockpiles, like I'm going to do a workshop layer here, and then below this is going to be all stockpiles, and below this is basically going to be like, you know, feeder stockpiles for this, and then I'll just put like up and downstairs, like right around these guys, and so like they can just go downstairs, pick that up, come back up, and they're ready to go. Like really efficient to kind of use the Z levels that way. But then the downside of that is I'm not going to be able to have what I really liked in my last base, which is just multiple levels of workshop right next to each other, right? Because I would kind of have to sacrifice a layer to be like a dedicated stockpile layer to do that, unless I did some hybrid thing that's a little bit more complicated. So, you know, I don't know if I want to. If I wasn't talking on a microphone, I might just sit here and think about that for a half hour. But I think for now, I'll just go with what I had before, because it did work pretty well. But just kind of to say, right, like you can almost always be more efficient. And one of the fun things I think in this game is just like always thinking about, like, especially the next time, like how you could potentially make what you did before a little bit more efficient. Anyway. Let's go ahead and go. So yeah, all that to say, I think I actually am going to go ahead and do it this way, and so I'm actually going to leave these here, and I'm just going to remove the entrances to them for right now, because I really want them to finish this critical path first. my other guys doing? Just I'm getting stressed out. I guess they're still planting, so I'm okay. Just like hearing the time pass. Oh, getting some tetrahedrite here. One thing that's a shame with these aesthetics is that I'm always a little bit torn if I want to, mine out some of these more valuable walls and have to like rebuild them back or something, and then it won't look uniform. I don't need these guys down here. What am I doing? You can do this later. Let's just do this stuff up here for now. Especially if I'm doing these kind of stockpiles. I don't need all this space. So let's have them focus. And alright, they're about done. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do next. Let's do these guys. We'll get this wing going first. Alright, so if we're gonna do a quantum stockpile up here for, let's say, like stone and wood or something, like stone wood, then it would be good to have like these be, crafts, dwarfs, workshop, carpentry over here by the wood, mason over here, maybe mechanic to do rock mechanics, and they can kind of all just pull from that output tile. And then same thing for the wood here, like carpenters, maybe a couple of carpenters eventually, if we're making lots of wood stuff, and maybe like a crafts dwarf shop that I use for only wood, and we can set this one to be only wood, and then the crafts dwarf shop over here to be like only stone or something. That's pretty similar to what I had in my last fort, and it worked out well, so I think I'm going to do that again. And then, again, I'm still just thinking about this food that's going to start sprouting, so that means that we still don't really have a place for food, but I think maybe the level down below this will make kind of animal products, ingredients, things like that, and then maybe eventually the next level will be like metal, smelters and furnaces and things like that. Last time, all the way up to like 200 residents and 9 years in, 3 levels of these, with basically you're dealing with like up to 12 shops per level, worked pretty well for me. I did eventually kind of end up going in this like cross pattern to add an extra 2, 4, 6, 8 on each level, so I think that's like plenty of workshop space for what we need. Alright, so we'll get this going, and let's just go ahead and get this stuff going then. So that means we want a I think the closest possible thing to this is we're going to want to be the crafts dwarf shop, because I'm going to have that going like all year, and I want it going as fast as possible, so that I can get those crafts out and have a lot of stuff to trade early on. And I think that I'm going to do that with stone. So I think what I want is crafts dwarf workshop right here. I mean, I could even do something crazy and put it like right at the entrance to this thing or something, but I want to keep the aesthetics, so I'll sacrifice it. Alright, just use the rye light. Right next to it, we'll do the stoneworker. Okay, let's do these next. Yeah, let's do those next. And then, what do we want over here? Mechanic, I think. And the reason that we're doing the mechanics shop is because of, again, of this. Oh, it looks like this is already thawing, so I'm not going to have time to do this before. Now, I did in my last game. I did it with the river running. It's fine. I can still do it, but I have kind of missed my opportunity. I would have to wait all the way until next year when it's frozen again if I wanted to get that going. So okay. But the reason that we're doing the mechanic shop here is so that we can go up and make floodgates and hook those up to levers and things like that. If we want to make a screw pump to pump that in when we want it, all that is going to be using essentially a series of mechanisms that we're going to build there. And we'll do those with rock, so it kind of makes sense up here. Out. We'll just do I think I'm going to stick to 2 of these right now, and we'll do one for rock and one for wood. And over here we're going to build the let's kind of do the same things. So Craftsdorf shop here that we can use for wood if we need it. The carpenter here, and I don't really know what I would want over here that would also use wood. I mean, we could do like a wood furnace or something here, make an exception to like having the furnaces down here since it's going to use a wood input also. But for now, we're not doing anything like that. I think this is really all we need on this layer for now, with only 7 dwarves. All right, what are we dealing with here? We're gonna need to make a construction, a track stop. What is a track stop gonna take? Say it's dumping to the bottom. I just want to see what this can take. I guess I can make it out of anything. Okay. All right, let's let them finish first, and then I'll kind of go through creating a quantum stockpile. What are my other dwarves doing? They're still planting, which is interesting. Maybe I will actually, at this point, I might actually set these to be yeah, let's go into labor and turn off I set up because it looks like they did that anyway. I think at this point I'm actually going to make just the planter. Whoops. Okay, they already have one for planters, and it's selected everybody does this. Let's do only selected does this and give that just to the proficient planter for sure. And I think this farmer guy is actually my cook and brewer, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that because it's been a little while. Yeah, he's the brewer and cook, which I don't have set up just yet. So I think for now I will give him planter as well. And hopefully that'll stop those other guys from doing that once they finish what they're working on and start building these why does he say no job? Dude, you got buildings to build here. Okay. They're doing other stuff now. Okay, so we got this set up. It might be best to just go to the next floor and start getting it set up for the food now so we can get that stuff ready. Because it's not going to take too long for these to grow. So let's basically do the same thing here that we did here. We'll remove sort of the bottom here. You just don't need to really go down there yet. And we'll start working on this. Looks good. It's basically just a countdown to see how long I can go before I accidentally mine one of these center pieces out. Although I did do a little bit of research since the last time I played on whether my plan was going to work out here. You know, I was originally planning to basically build a display case in the middle and then have this covered with like vertical bars or windows, something that they could, you know, theoretically see through and kind of get happy thoughts about basically admiring these like artifacts that I would have in the middle. Unfortunately, it kind of seems like that won't work that way. I think they have to basically be standing right next to them, open air. So that's not going to work. But maybe we could do something else cool here. You know, if we wanted to get really fancy, like maybe we do some kind of crazy waterfall thing where we like run pumps and then have water falling down here and making mist everywhere, because dwarves also love being in the mist. I wonder if they would still like it on a cold biome like this. I think they will. Okay, so let's remove this. And let's go with that. The quantum stockpile thing doesn't make as much sense for some things. Anything that's kind of got to be in barrels or bins or things like that, you might get yourself into more trouble, like rottable items. I don't usually do those in that kind of thing because you really just want to make sure that those are actually in bins and barrels. So I probably won't actually do that for this layer, for those at least. I might do something else in here. Like I might do like, you know, eventually like cloth and leather on this floor or something, and so maybe I'll make these like clothes or something like that instead. But we can do that later. Okay. So why don't we do one to start cleaning up this rock, because I think people are going to start having no jobs eventually until I get these shops going. So let's go ahead and set up this first quantum stockpile. So what we're going to need is well, actually we might want to take out some of these walls first. So what I had last time was like doors. This time I'm kind of thinking maybe to reduce the amount of doors, like just do a 3 here so more people can get in and out as well without bumping into each other. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I had like door overload in the last place, and I just needed all kinds of doors everywhere, and it was sort of pointless. So maybe I just do it this way this time. Yeah, and if we want these guys to focus on this, then they can do that afterward. But okay, the first thing that we're going to need here is, like I said, you're going to need an input stockpile. So for now, I'll just make this the whole area here inside. But we can control this if we don't want it to be this large and we want less dwarves working on this. We can resize this later, but just for now, I'm just going to fill out this whole room, and we'll say that this is basically going to be the input stockpile. So we'll call this like stone, you know, I don't know what we want to call it. Stone in. Yeah, that works. And then we'll do one here, and this is going to be a single tile for the output tile, and one square in between where we're going to put the minecart. So we'll call this like stone out. All right, we got stone in and stone out. Before I set the actual permissions on these, I'm just going to set up everything. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. It's just none. So they're not going to take anything here yet. and we're going to build a construction of just a track stop. We don't need any tracks or anything like that, just the stop. And before you build it, make sure that you can keep this on the default, but make sure you set the output direction where it dumps to. In this case, it's dumping from the top to the bottom, so we're going to put the down arrow here, and we're going to place that, and we'll do it with Rhyolite. And then we'll do the same thing over here for wood. Wood in. Wood out. And build a construction of a track stop with an output direction, in this case, of going from right to left. And then we'll set it up once they actually build that. All right, already done. So we've built a couple mine carts. So if I go to either of these track stops, I'm going to get some stuff here. Oh wait, no, I'm not. I gotta create a hauling route. Okay, so all right, we've got this all set up. The next thing to do is going to be to create a hauling route, which you do down here. We're going to add new route, and we're going to call it stone. All right, and this will allow us to assign a minecart to this. We're able to build 3 before I deconstructed that shop. It doesn't matter, so just pick one of them, and it'll show up here now. When you go here, it's going to say this one's assigned to the stone. So always make sure to name these so that you know what you're doing. And then we're going to add a stop. And it's going to say, which position, which we just basically got to choose one of these guys. So in this case, we're setting up the stone one. So we're going to choose this one up here for the stone. Click on that stop, and it's going to create your stop one here. You can rename this if you want, but it's going to be indented underneath the hauling route, so doesn't really matter. Like, you basically just name it like stone again anyway, and once you have a lot of these, you can keep it as stop. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so it's going to say you've got an exclamation mark here because your vehicle is not there yet. Obviously, we just set it. Since we set that minecart there to be that one of these guys is going to haul it over there eventually, and then it'll basically just stay there from then on. And this is where we're going to basically set up the stockpile stuff. So as I mentioned before, we need to basically synchronize the same permissions into the input stockpile, into the stockpile for the stop, and into the output stockpile for this to all work. So we'll do that at the very end. Conditions, we always want to just remove all these for a quantum stockpile, because we just want it to be conditionless. Like, it's just going to constantly dump out here. The moment something is in it, it just dumps it. So this is as fast as possible as it can possibly be. And then we're just going to do the same thing for the wood. So we'll create a new route. Wood, assign a different one. So don't assign your one that's assigned to stone here. Check on it, make sure. All right. And again, add a stop. Click on the wood track here, track stop. And same thing, get rid of your conditions. And yeah, pretty much ready to go here. Oh, sorry, no, I take it back. I was a little bit mistaken in what I said before. This is not the stockpile settings. This is the input and output stockpile, so we actually do want to set these right away. So for stone, we're going to come here and set this, and we're going to say, I want to set the stockpile for items coming into the cart here is going to be this input guy, and it'll say stone in, so it makes sense. Coming out of the cart is going to be the output tile, so you got your stone in, stone out. Now there's no confusion. It knows exactly where items are coming from and where items are going to. Done. And let's do that for the other one. Into the stockpile is going to be this one. Out of the stockpile is going to be this one. Wood in, wood out. All right, all that's left is to set the stockpile settings here. So let's go ahead and do that. For stone, I'm gonna get a little bit fancier than just including everything, so we don't have the metal problem that we had before. I'm going to save this and create its own quantum stockpile down by the furnaces on floor 3 later on. For now, I don't care. They can just leave them wherever they're at. They're not really doing me any good. Okay, so what we're going to have in here is, for now, I'm going to do really just like stone that I'm not using anywhere else. So no clay, no economic stone that might be better at a different workshop for now, no metal ores. We're just going to do all of these. And you can get even, you know, even more strict if like you want. You know, I don't know why you would get more strict than this, but sometimes in late fortresses I get like really aesthetic and I want to like make things with certain colors. And so in that case, like, you know, if you've got like 6 or 7 different kinds of rock you're typically mining, you could like limit this to only one kind, or set up another stockpile, quantum stockpile that's only one kind, and then exclude it from this general one, so that you could link that to a workshop and like have everything created out of that workshop be one color. Which can be really cool when you get into like fancy noble rooms and throne rooms and things like that you want to just look as nice as possible, which is I used to do even on the text version, and it's even better now that you've got graphics. So for now, all that said, we're just going to do all those stones. So now that we've set that, we just need to make 100% sure that the others are exactly the same settings. So let's do that before we do wood. So stone in, same thing. Custom, go down here to stone, turn on only other stone and nothing else, and then we'll do that for stone out as well. Alright, and that should all be ready to go. We'll leave it at this large size for now, just to see what happens. I don't even really have enough dwarves to like do this, so they'll just kind of constantly be doing it. So actually, yeah, we'll probably want to limit this so that they'll do both stone and wood. But for now, I'll just leave them and we'll just see how it goes. Okay, let's do the wood. Let's go back to the hauling routes and start there. So for wood, same thing here. You know, the only reason you'd really want to do this is like colors that I can think of. But I don't care about that right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and do... this one's going to be a little bit simpler. It's just going to be all wood for now. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to do with that. Alright, same thing here. All wood. And here, all wood. Now, I think that's the equivalent of just selecting the wood option here, but I still did it through the custom, and I would recommend doing that unless you're just like absolutely 100% confident, because, you know, when you do the hauling route one, you actually don't even get the option to choose one of those default categories. You have to choose it from this menu. So, you know, just to make sure everything's 100% consistent, it's still better, I think, to do it through the custom. It only takes a second longer. Okay, that should all be set up. Before these get mined, I'm kind of at a little bit of a weird situation here where they have to walk through the mine cart, but they'll mine those out soon. And then these should be all functional. So they brought the minecart here, you see. They put basically one piece of wood in the output stockpile, but that's the last people are going to interact with this from a drop-off perspective. From now on, they're going to basically only be dropping off into here because this is already marked as full, and then everything is going to basically go into the minecart and get dumped in there. So you see right now what we're seeing is, if I look at this slot, it's only got the 1 hazelwood logs, but you're going to know really soon if it's working. Basically, the moment that you see more than one item on here, you know for sure that it's working. So if you don't see that pretty quickly, something went wrong. You could try clicking through it and troubleshooting, but honestly, if something goes wrong with these, I find the best thing to do is just to completely remove all the stockpiles, remove the hauling route, and just do it all from scratch again. It only takes a minute once you get, you get down what you need to do. But we'll see what happens here. So they're going to start filling this up with wood. Eventually, you're going to get dwarves coming over here, taking these and putting them into the minecart instead. How are my guys doing down here? Okay, so we can still watch this. Alright, that's pretty much full, so let's see what they do now. Are they going to start just working on this one? Yeah. So yeah, in this case, with this few dwarves, it probably would pay to make these a little bit smaller. Where are my miners at? Oh, they're eating. Okay, I'll allow it. I kind of want to get production going on these, but I just want to verify that the quantum stockpile is working first. So and I've already kind of missed my opportunity on the river, so I'm not too concerned about time at this point. How are my planters doing? Let's take a look at some of these. All right, yeah, these are getting plump helmets put in them. This one's full. Yeah, doing good on these. Looks like they're kind of going around clockwise. Look at that. All right, we're getting a little bit more access to these, which is good. This guy's just sleeping. Don't worry, guys. I'm getting the bed set up soon, I promise. Alright, we're in late spring, so it looks like that river is like fully thawed in late spring. That's good to know. I thought it might be summer before this melted, so it looks like we're only going to have a little bit out of the year where we have to worry about that river being frozen. No job. That's not good. It makes me think that maybe these are not working properly. Got rid of the conditions. We did the inputs and outputs, right? Oh, there we go. I see 2 basalts on here. So this is basically proof to me at this point that this one is working. They were just being a little bit slow getting it going. And I see 2 hazelwood logs here. So yeah, I was a little bit worried for a second, but it looks like we're ready to go. And in fact, you just saw her put another one on there. So you can see how fast that works once they get it set up. So now that they have that, I'm definitely gonna reduce the size of these. But we can always, you can always change it. So you just go to repaint. I'm just gonna delete, like, I might honestly just do like a 3 for now. Or maybe a 6. Let's see how it works with a 3. We can always change it. Alright, accept. And let's do this one as well. And oh, I accidentally did the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. And it's no big deal that like some of these are outside of the stockpile now because they're so close. Like they're just gonna move them to the stockpile and it's gonna work anyway. So.